The morning sun reflected off the glass towers of downtown Chicago, turning the streets into a river of golden light. Commuters hurried to work, cars honked, and the city moved like it always did, until a crowd began forming near Jefferson Avenue. At the center of the gathering stood Rachel Morgan, a young police officer, 7 months pregnant, her uniform snug across her stomach. Her eyes were sharp, scanning the crowd, scanning the street, scanning one man in particular. That man was Samuel Reed, elderly, thin, with eyes that seemed to hold every secret the city had ignored. He muttered under his breath, moving in unpredictable ways, catching the attention of everyone around him. But no one really noticed what was dangerous. Rachel felt it immediately. Her stomach tightened as the baby kicked hard, sharp, insistent. A reminder that her instincts were stronger than ever, that inaction could be disastrous. Phones were out. Cameras were recording. A few brave spectators whispered, "Is he insane?" Others laughed nervously, thinking it was just another eccentric street incident. But Rachel knew better. She took a measured step closer. The crowd leaned in instinctively. The air thickened. The sirens of nearby police cars and emergency vehicles added to the tension, a low, urgent warning that something could snap in an instant. Rachel's partner, Daniel Harris, called softly from behind, "Rachel, be careful." She didn't answer. Her attention was fixed on Samuel. Every twitch, every sudden glance, every muttered word told her something was off, something dangerous. And while the crowd saw a confused old man, she saw a storm waiting to break. And in that pause, in that frozen moment, everyone watching, from the nearest camera to the last person on the street, had no idea what was about to happen. Because what comes next will change the city and Rachel forever. The crowd pressed closer, drawn by Samuel Reed's odd behavior. Some whispered, some laughed nervously, and others filmed on their phones, eager to capture the crazy street show. But Rachel Morgan didn't see entertainment. She saw threat. Samuel shuffled his feet, muttering fragments of words no one understood. "They never listen, never listen." His hand twitched toward the inside of his coat, a movement so subtle that anyone else might have missed it. Rachel's stomach tightened with another kick. The baby shifted sharply, almost as if warning her to. Her instinct screamed. "Sir, step back," she said calmly, projecting authority over the chaotic scene. But Samuel didn't flinch. His gaze swept the crowd as if weighing their worth, evaluating who mattered and who didn't. Daniel Harris stepped closer. "Rachel, what's he doing?" She didn't answer immediately. Every muscle in her body was alert. Her eyes tracked Samuel's hand again. That small twitch, combined with his unpredictable steps, told her something important. He was about to act, and no one would understand why. From the corner of her eye, Rachel noticed Lieutenant Mark Benson arriving with additional units, blocking streets and forming a human perimeter. The crowd felt the tension rising, shuffling back, whispering, taking a step too many. The city seemed to hold its breath. Samuel muttered again, louder this time, "If they won't listen, they'll see." The words cut through the morning air like a warning, unintelligible to the crowd, but Rachel understood the intent. She shifted her weight slightly, ready to move, ready to act. Every instinct told her to prepare, not attack yet, but prepare. And in that tense pause, cameras rolling, sirens wailing, the city watching, the first signs that this would explode into chaos were undeniable. No one saw it coming. No one knew what Rachel was feeling inside. The baby's kick, her pulse racing, the pressure of responsibility, and the impossible choice she would soon face. The crowd had fallen into a nervous silence. Phones still hovered in the air, capturing every detail, but the laughter was gone. Something about Samuel Reed unsettled them. The way his thin frame shifted unpredictably, the intensity in his gaze. Rachel Morgan felt the baby kick sharply, her body instinctively tensing. She stepped a fraction closer, her eyes fixed on Samuel. She could feel the energy in him, restless, nervous, dangerous, and the city seemed to shrink around them, leaving only the two of them in a bubble of potential chaos. Samuel's hand twitched again, this time near the coat pocket. Not enough to alarm the casual observer, but to Rachel, it was a warning. He was hiding something, and she needed to read his intentions before anyone got hurt. "Sir," Rachel said, her voice firm but calm, "I need you to stand still." Samuel's head tilted slightly, his lips forming a faint, crooked smile. "Still? Why should I be still when they never listen?" Daniel Harris shifted uncomfortably beside Rachel. "We should pull back," he whispered. "Something's not right." Rachel didn't answer. Her mind raced. She had trained for situations like this. Unpredictable suspects, crowded streets. But nothing prepared her for the weight of responsibility she felt now, with another life depending on her. Samuel muttered again, this time louder. "They'll see soon enough. They'll all see." The crowd shivered, instinctively stepping back, but Rachel didn't move. Her hand instinctively hovered near her belt, ready to act. Not yet, but soon. Every nerve in her body screamed that the moment to act was approaching, and she would need perfect timing. A siren blared closer. A police cruiser stopped abruptly, adding flashing lights to the chaos. Samuel's head turned toward it, and Rachel noticed something in his eyes, a mix of defiance and desperation. This was it. The city's calm had cracked. The moment before a storm, where any wrong move could ignite chaos. Rachel exhaled slowly, ready to respond. Her instincts sharpened, her focus absolute, and the crowd completely unaware that the tension was about to reach its peak. The tension had reached a breaking point. Samuel Reed's movements were no longer subtle. His hand twitched toward his coat pocket again, faster this time, more deliberate, and Rachel's instinct screamed that this was no longer a harmless eccentricity. The crowd had begun to murmur nervously, sensing something about to snap, but they didn't understand what. Phones hovered in the air, ready to capture anything, but Rachel couldn't think about the cameras. She had one priority: safety. The baby kicked sharply inside her, a sudden, sharp reminder that hesitation could be catastrophic. Rachel's heart pounded. Every second counted. "Sir, stop!" she shouted, her voice slicing through the murmurs. Samuel's eyes flicked to her, unblinking. He wasn't scared. He was daring her to act. And then it happened. Samuel's hand moved again, a slight, sudden motion, and Rachel reacted instinctively. Her hand shot out, connecting with his cheek in a sharp, controlled slap. It was precise, measured, not meant to harm, but enough to interrupt his motion and seize control of the moment. The crowd gasped. Phones jostled. Some whispered, "She hit him." Others froze, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Samuel staggered back, not from pain but from surprise. His eyes widened as the weight of the interruption hit him. Rachel held her stance, breathing controlled, muscles tight, hand hovering near her belt. She hadn't overreacted. She had prevented a potential disaster, but the public didn't see the full picture. Daniel Harris rushed to her side. "Rachel, are you okay?" She nodded, swallowing hard. "I'm fine," she said, her voice steady, though her stomach clenched from the baby's kick. "But he almost did something." Samuel looked at her, the defiance in his eyes replaced by a flicker of understanding. "You stopped it," he muttered. "I didn't want it to come to this." Rachel exhaled slowly. The moment had passed, but the crowd's whispers, the flashing cameras, and the sirens reminded her that this incident was far from over. She had acted. She had controlled the situation. But what Samuel was hiding, what had triggered all of this, was still unknown. And that uncertainty hung heavy in the air, pulling everyone into the next chapter of the story. The plaza erupted. Whispers rippled through the crowd, growing louder. Phones swiveled, cameras zoomed in, and the murmurs became a chorus of shock and confusion. She just hit him. What's happening? Is he okay?" Rachel Morgan kept her stance firm, one hand on her belt, the other resting lightly on her stomach. The baby kicked sharply again, reminding her of the stakes, her life, and her child's. She could not afford hesitation. Samuel Reed's head turned slowly, meeting her gaze. For the first time, there was no defiance, no mischief, only acknowledgement. He understood that the slap had interrupted whatever he had been about to do, and the weight of it hung heavily in the air. Lieutenant Mark Benson arrived, urgency in his steps, flanked by officers forming a perimeter. "Everyone back!" he barked, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Clear the street." The crowd complied, though uneasily, some lingering behind cameras and phones, capturing every tense moment. Daniel Harris stepped beside Rachel, his expression tight. "Rachel, what was that about?" She shook her head slightly, eyes fixed on Samuel. "Something was coming," she said quietly. "Something dangerous." I had to act. Off to the side, medics appeared, their white jackets bright against the urban landscape. One held a small, sealed package, already noting the irregularities. Rachel's gaze flicked toward it, a subtle movement, but enough to make her pulse spike. Samuel muttered under his breath, almost inaudible to the crowd, "They don't understand, they never do." Rachel's hand instinctively moved over her belly again. The baby shifted, heavy and insistent. She knew she had done the right thing, but what Samuel held, what had triggered her action, was still unknown. And in that knowledge, the tension did not ease. It only grew. The cameras rolled, the crowd whispered, and the city streets seemed smaller, constricted by the invisible weight of what could have happened and what might still come. Rachel inhaled slowly. She wasn't done yet. The medics moved closer, gloved hands carefully examining the small package Samuel Reed had been clutching. Rachel felt her pulse spike. Every instinct in her body, every kick of the baby, screamed that this wasn't ordinary. Lieutenant Benson spoke into his radio with calm authority, but Rachel noticed the slight tremor in his jaw. "Secure the perimeter. No one gets closer." The crowd had fallen back, whispers rising like a tide. Phones captured every angle, every reaction, but no one could see what Rachel saw, the faint, subtle movement in Samuel's hand earlier, the trigger that almost set chaos loose. Daniel Harris stepped beside her. "Rachel, what is it? What did he have?" She shook her head, refusing to answer. Even she didn't know the full scope yet. Her gaze stayed on Samuel, who looked both frail and unervingly alert. His eyes flicked to her, and for a brief second, she thought she saw fear. Not of the crowd, not of the police, but fear of what could happen if he lost control. A sharp beep from a nearby police scanner made everyone jump. Rachel's stomach tightened. The baby kicked hard, almost as if echoing her rising panic. Samuel muttered under his breath, low and almost remorseful, "They'll never believe it." Rachel's eyes narrowed. She stepped closer, hands slightly raised but not touching him, ready to act again. She didn't yet know what the danger was, but she knew instinctively that she had stopped something catastrophic just moments before. Across the street, the first hazmat units arrived, their bright suits stark against the morning light. The crowd shuffled back further, the whispers turning into murmurs of fear. Rachel exhaled slowly. Her hand rested lightly on her stomach, every nerve on edge. She had acted instinctively, but now the real challenge began, discovering what Samuel had brought into the plaza and what could happen if it wasn't contained immediately. The city held its breath, and so did she. Samuel Reed was moved to the edge of the plaza, still unrestrained, his hands trembling slightly as medics examined the small, mysterious package. Rachel Morgan stood a few feet away, her stomach tight from both nerves and the baby's kicks. Every muscle in her body was coiled, ready for any sudden move. "Rachel," Daniel whispered, "we need to know what's in there." She shook her head. "Not yet. I need to see his eyes first." Samuel watched the medics work, muttering fragments under his breath. "I've been telling them, no one listens, no one ever does." Rachel felt the weight of his words. She had been on countless calls, responding to people dismissed as crazy, unstable, or dangerous. But something about Samuel was different, desperate, yes, but deliberate. Every twitch, every mutter, every glance told her he was warning someone, somehow. Lieutenant Benson stepped beside her. "Media's framing it already," he said under his breath. "Pregnant cop loses control." That's the headline. Rachel's gaze didn't move from Samuel. Let them frame it. Right now, I have to focus on what he's trying to do. Samuel suddenly straightened, his eyes locking with hers. "You hit me because you saw it," he said quietly. Rachel didn't deny it. "You stopped it," he continued. "Not because you understood me, but because instinct told you something was wrong." The baby kicked sharply, almost violently. Rachel flinched but didn't break her focus. She understood. The slap had been a disruption, an interruption of something bigger, something dangerous. A medic whispered to Benson, and Rachel noticed the color drain from the lieutenant's face. Whatever was in that package, it wasn't harmless. Samuel's voice lowered, almost pleading. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt. I only wanted them to listen. I've been trying for years." Rachel exhaled, placing a hand lightly on her stomach. She had acted in the moment, instinctively, decisively. But the truth of what Samuel carried, what could have been unleashed, remained just out of reach. The crowd had been moved back. Cameras were rolling, sirens wailing. And in that quiet, tense pause, Rachel realized that everything hung in the balance, and the next moments could define lives forever. The medics and hazmat units worked quickly, their bright suits and reflective gear standing out against the morning light. Rachel Morgan kept her eyes locked on Samuel Reed. Every twitch, every muttered word, every subtle movement sent a shiver down her spine. Lieutenant Benson's voice crackled over the radio. "Contain the package. No one touches it until we know exactly what it is." Rachel's stomach clenched as the baby kicked sharply. She gritted her teeth. This wasn't just about stopping a man in the street anymore. This was potential citywide danger. Samuel's frail voice broke the tense quiet. They never listen, never notice until it's too late. Daniel Harris stepped close to Rachel. "Do you know what's in there?" She shook her head. "I don't, but I know it's serious. And we were lucky I acted when I did." A beep from a hazmat scanner echoed through the plaza. Medics and officers froze. The device indicated a highly unstable compound, not immediately lethal, but enough to create chaos if mishandled. Rachel's heart raced. The baby kicked harder, and she instinctively pressed a hand to her stomach. Every instinct screamed, "The danger is real, and it's bigger than we imagined." The crowd was moved back, murmurs rising into whispers of fear. Cameras captured every detail, every tense exchange. Everyone saw an old man and a brave cop, but no one understood the true stakes. Samuel's eyes met Rachel's. For the first time, there was vulnerability, regret, and a desperate hope that someone would see the truth before it was too late. Rachel exhaled slowly. She had acted instinctively before, disrupting potential disaster. Now, she realized the full scope. The city itself had been on the edge, and she had been the barrier between chaos and safety. Sirens wailed louder. Hazmat teams moved in. And in that frozen moment, everyone, Rachel, Samuel, the officers, and even the distant media cameras, sensed the weight of what could have happened. The morning had begun as routine. Now, it was a test of courage, instinct, and humanity. The plaza was eerily quiet now, the city's usual hum replaced by the low thrum of sirens and the distant wail of helicopters. Hazmat units had secured the area, medics moved cautiously, and the crowd was safely behind barricades. Rachel Morgan stood over Samuel Reed, her uniform smudged, her hair damp with sweat. Her hand rested lightly on her stomach, feeling the baby kick, a constant reminder of a life she was protecting in addition to her own. Samuel's hands were empty now, trembling. His eyes darted around the empty street, taking in the aftermath of the morning's chaos. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt," he whispered. "I just needed someone to notice me." Rachel exhaled slowly. Her anger and fear had faded, replaced by a weighty empathy. "You scared people," she said softly. "You scare me too. But if you wanted someone to be heard, now they will. Hopefully next time, you'll find another way." Daniel Harris stepped forward. "Rachel, you did the right thing. You stopped it before anyone was hurt. But the media, they won't understand." Rachel nodded. She didn't care about headlines. She cared about lives, hers, her babies, the people around her. "I don't need them to understand," she said quietly. "I just need to know we stopped the worst from happening." Samuel looked at her, a flicker of gratitude and relief breaking through his frail, desperate expression. "Thank you," he said, voice cracking, even if no one else ever does. Rachel gave a small, tired smile. Go home, Samuel. Take care of yourself. As he was led away, Rachel's gaze fell on the city streets she had just protected. The baby kicked once more, and she placed a hand over her stomach, feeling the insistent, life-affirming movement. The chaos of the morning had ended, but the lessons lingered. Courage, quick thinking, and empathy could save lives in ways no one else might see or understand. For Rachel, the morning on Jefferson Avenue would never be forgotten. She had faced fear, judgment, and potential disaster, and she had acted with both instinct and humanity. And for the city, one truth remained. Sometimes, one person's bravery can make all the difference. The plaza was quiet, but the air was thick with anticipation. Rachel Morgan stood at the center, her hand still resting lightly on her stomach, the baby kicking insistently as if echoing her tension. Samuel Reed had been moved to a secure location, but the mysterious package remained under the watch of hazmat and police units. A senior medic carefully opened the package, revealing a stack of documents and a small, electronic device. Rachel's eyes widened as the truth began to unfold. The device was a sophisticated alarm mechanism, designed to trigger chaos in a crowded area if mishandled. And the documents? Evidence of a citywide corruption scandal involving construction, safety violations, and hazardous materials. Samuel's muttered warnings made sense now. He hadn't wanted to hurt anyone. He had been trying to expose a danger no one else would notice. The threat he posed was misunderstood by everyone, including the crowd, the media, and even the police at first. Rachel took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her instinctive action. The slap, the quick, split-second move, had interrupted a sequence that could have triggered panic, injury, or worse. She had saved lives without knowing the full scope. The crowd, finally cleared to watch at a distance, murmured in disbelief as the medics and officers explained the device and the documents. Samuel's frail figure was led back, this time not as a threat, but as someone who had tried to do the right thing in the only way he knew how. Rachel looked down at her baby bump, feeling another kick. A surge of relief and pride filled her, not just for protecting the city, but for trusting her instincts when it mattered most. Daniel Harris approached, shaking his head in awe. You did everything right. People will call you reckless, but you stopped something catastrophic. Rachel nodded. She understood the lessons the morning had delivered. Bravery was not about being fearless. It was about acting with precision, empathy, and conviction. Sometimes the most shocking, controversial actions were the ones that saved the most lives. As the crowd began to disperse and the sun climbed higher over Chicago, Rachel felt the morning's chaos settle into history, a story that would be retold in whispers, headlines, and heroic accounts. She had faced fear, acted decisively, and protected not just herself, but a city unaware of the disaster that had been just moments away. And somewhere in Samuel's eyes, she saw gratitude, understanding, and a quiet acknowledgement that even the most misunderstood people could make a profound difference. The city exhaled, Rachel exhaled, and life, fragile but resilient, went on. If this story moved you, stayed with you, or made you pause for a moment, then this channel is for you. If you believe stories should have meaning, not noise. If you enjoy narratives that build slowly, reward patience, and stay with you long after the video ends, then you belong here. Backhand index pointing right, subscribe now, so you don't miss the next story, because the next one may challenge what you think you know, just like this one did.